Most people don't know that there's a teardrop-shaped island in the Indian Ocean, just south of India. This island is the country of Sri Lanka. This country has been in an international conflict since the mid-1980s, and the U.S. has sent several small teams to help the government in this conflict. In 2007, I, April White, was assigned to a small air and air defense assessment team as a subject matter expert. Today I'm going to talk to you about the country and its internal conflict. More specifically, I'm going to inform you about Sri Lanka, the terrorist group in the country, and the civil war that only recently ended in 2009. Sri Lanka is, as I said, a teardrop island in the Indian Ocean, which is just slightly larger than West Virginia. This country is home to several ethnic groups, such as the majority Sinhalese, Sri Lankan Moors, Indian Tamils, and Sri Lankan Tamils, as well as some other ethnic groups. Sinhala is the official and national language. However, 18% of the country speaks Tamil, so it is considered a national language of the country. English is commonly used in the government and is spoken competently by 10% of the country. Now that I've told you a little bit about the country, we are going to go into the LTTE, or Liberation Tamil Tigers Alam. The LTTE is a known terrorist group in Sri Lanka who at one point controlled the northern and eastern coasts of the country. The LTTE were comprised of 10,000 armed combatants. About 3,000 to 6,000 of those combatants were trained cadre fighters. The LTTE had significant overseas support structure which provided fundraising, weapons, and propaganda activities. The LTTE also has its own naval and air wing, known as the Sea and Air Tigers. The LTTE Air Tigers are the only known terrorist group to have successfully flown an aircraft, dropped bombs on government military targets, and returned safely to enemy territories. The Air Tigers conducted at least 6 attacks before one of their 5 aircraft were shot down by the Sri Lankan military. Now that you know a little bit about Sri Lanka and the LTTE, we'll talk about the civil war that lasted almost 30 years in the country. The root of the modern-day conflict dates back to the British colonial rule, when the country was known as Ceylon. After the British granted the country independence in 1948, disagreements between the Sinhalese and Tamil ethnic groups flared up, while drawing up the country's first post-independence constitution. The main disagreement was the LTTE wanted to form an independent Tamil state named Tamil Elam in the north and the east of the country, and the Sinhalese wanted to keep the island unified. The full-on civil war broke out in June 1983 and ended in May 2009, when the LTTE surrendered to the government of Sri Lanka. This surrendered the 30-year war that cost an estimated of 80 to 100,000 lives. This includes about 27,000 Tamil fighters, more than 23,000 Sri Lankan soldiers and police, 1,100 Indian soldiers, and tens of thousands of civilians. Today I informed you about the country of Sri Lanka and the bloody civil war this country faced. We talked about the country, the LTTE, the country's terrorist group, as well as the internal civil war that lasted 30 years. Although this tiny island is not well known, the impacts of this civil war are felt by all.